face, lemon face, lion face, lemon face. Hey kids, welcome to another exciting episode of Fox Tales, the only show that knows its yoga hoses from the yoga posers. I'm Johnny Foxx, and I don't do this intro every week. I'm just doing it this week because this week we have the one, the only, Mark Lamb.
Hey.
Now, I'll just hand it over to you, bud. You can tell the kids at home a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Okay, yeah, my name is Mark Lamb, as you said. I am really just a huge, avid Kevin Smith fan and collector. Um, you may have seen me if you're on Facebook in the World of Kevin Smith group. I admin and help run that. And also, if you're a member of that Kevin Smith club, which is Kevin's personal Patreon type setup, I actually moderate the Discord for that. So I'm in and about. Been a collector for about 6 years. Been a fan, I guess, since I saw Mallrats in high school. So,
Well, I was going to ask. Let's just dive straight in. What was your gateway into the world of Kevin Smith? What was Mallrats?
Mallrats was my first film in high school. Absolutely loved it as a teenager. I mean, who can't relate to going and hanging out at the mall for hours with your friends? I mean, that film just set the stage. Also, it helped. My dad wasn't an avid comic book collector, but he did have his collection of comic books. And from seeing that, immediately seeing Stan Lee, it's kind of just added another tie-in. I'm like, I could relate so much to that film. It was a good film.
Yeah, it was like sometime after seeing Mallrats. Mallrats was also my first. I was just that little bit late to the party. It was Mallrats, then back to Clerks, and then everything else. But it was like some time later before realizing, how unsuccessful this film that I loved so much and thought was so amazing was
Oh yeah,
actually supposed to be this terrible movie that made no money, like no money.
oh yeah. It died in the theatrical sense, but VHS, much like everything back then, brought it back to life.
Yeah,
What I love is the fact that going into interviews with Kevin, how he said the studio wanted him to basically make a modern Porky's.
yeah.
And looking at Mallrats, you can kind of see those influences through it.
Oh, it's classic, like teen, high school slash stoner. Not so much on the stoner, but it's just classic comedy in that sense. Everything's there. It's dumb as fuck, but also very smart. But it's very smart, very satirical. The social commentary is that Kevin's become very famous for. It's all there.
Oh yeah,
But there's also, there's chocolate covered pretzels and there's kind of winks to the camera and there's silly things in there.
oh yeah. And all the fourth wall breaks. That's everybody waits for those now. Especially with Jason Lee, and it's
Yeah, Jason Lee, the best actor who's not an actor. Not really. Wasn't back then.
no, he was a skateboarder,
No,
and he still does skateboard
yeah,
some, but
pretty,
now he does photography.
very much so. Pretty damn good skateboarder. I mean, for people who don't know, Jason Lee. My Name is Earl might be the one you know.
That or Alvin and the Chipmunks, the live action versions of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forget about that. I imagine Jason might want to forget about that.
Kevin even pokes fun at it in reboots. So.
Yeah, but yeah. But Jason Lee, he was up there. He was like in the top. He's one of the elite. He was right up there. There's only a few steps from Jason Lee to get to Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah,
On that board, he was doing shit. Um, so it's very strange situation to get into acting. I mean, much like us watching the film, I know he sort of read the script and was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm in. This is amazing," and then had a ton of fun filming it. And seem to have had a good relationship since.
oh yeah. I mean, that film was full of a bunch of people who were not supposed to be in it. I mean, much of the backstory. They didn't want Jay to be Jay.
Yeah.
They actually made Kevin paid and brought him in, and he sat on the sidelines and had to and pay to have him there until they approved him to be Jay.
Yeah. So Let's jump. Yeah, let's go straight to the hardcore questions. I mean, I know it's like asking you which child you want to shoot or whatever, but do you have a favorite?
I get asked that question a lot, and it's a hard question to answer. They all hit to me for different reasons.
Yeah.
Clerks 2 is very important, and special to me. Um, I actually went and watched it in theaters with my wife on our second planned date while we were dating. And she's an amazing woman. I'm blessed to have her by my side through everything, and I've had surgeries. She's always there. She is not a Kevin Smith fan like I am. She's
But
watched
you
his
took the
movies. She likes his movies, but she's not the,
yeah, but
hey, I
no,
want to
no,
have an
the
entire room
second,
dedicated to the man.
the,
Yeah, so this is our second planned date.
the second
We went and
planned
watched
date.
that movie together.
You took your
Yes.
girl to a donkey show,
Yes, I did.
and she still married you.
Oh
What a
yeah.
woman!
We've been married now. It'll be 15 years this October.
Oh, beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
I guess it did something well. But I mean, it was one of those that movie always stands out to me because of that connection. I even had, and I'll show you around here a little bit, part of my collection. I have a hat signed by a lot of the cast from Clerks 2. Kevin,
Hey.
Trevor, O'Halloran, Jay, and Jeff Anderson. And
Nice.
Trevor wrote on it, Clerks 2 was your second date. So had to play a little bit of humor with that, but that one always has a special spot in my heart because of what it is. Other than that, honestly, Clerks 3 it gets a lot of shit now because they killed off Dante. But before watching that, about a month and a half, I had open heart surgery. They found I had a weak valve that needed to be replaced, so they cut me open, replaced my valve. So watching that and all the heart issues, it just hit home that much more to me. So
Oh man,
honestly, go ahead.
yeah, I see this. I see this in social media. The shit that this film gets, which
Oh
I don't
yeah,
understand. Yes, okay, look, I'm probably much like yourself. Okay, I'm a shill for Kevin Smith movies. All right, whatever. I'm guilty as charged. But it's because I just I appreciate the work. What I like about as a trilogy for now, it's a trilogy. Who knows in the future? But for now, we have a Clerks trilogy. What I like is that this is a trilogy that's not churned out like year on year. There's some time and space in
oh yeah.
between each movie, and then so going back and watching each movie and seeing the movie maker, the experience, the craft, the storytelling, everything that the movie makers learned in the like decade or so in between each movie. And I think when people just want more Clerks, yeah, why wouldn't you? It's fantastic, of course. But from Clerks then to Clerks 3, I I just think that to make a movie, to be able to make, the guy that made Clerks could not make Clerks 3 if he wanted to.
Oh,
You know,
not at all. The
just
progression,
like
the
I think,
heart involved.
yeah, just like now the guy that made Clerks 3 probably couldn't make Clerks if he wanted to. He probably can't. Like he's just not that guy anymore. Everything's somewhat autobiographical, isn't it,
Well, it is,
for
and
this guy?
I think a lot of it has to do with like my take on Clerks, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, but when I first watched Clerks back shortly after watching Mallrats, I absolutely hated it. I'm a little stupid teen kid watching a movie going, this is black and white. All they're doing is standing around talking. I didn't get it. I had nothing to back it up, no real life experiences. So to me, it didn't hit.
Yeah,
Tuned to me 30 years later, I live that movie. I relate to all those characters. I understand them. I see where they're coming from. I understand progression. That's the same thing with Kevin as a filmmaker. If you watch from Clerks 1 to Clerks 3, you can see how he's grown. You can see the other life experiences and things he put into
yeah,
it. You hit the nail on the head. I don't think he could have made Clerks 3 when he made Clerks. I mean, but as he put it, as he made it a recount of his life, you can see it all there. And at the end, when that song hits and you start the credits and spoilers, Dante gives his line of "I trust the director." I mean, that hits with me every single time because it's like that's life.
yeah.
That's them looking back on their life, everything that's happened, and you see his progression to that point. It's great. I mean, it's but people don't like when you kill off their stories. They don't like that. They see Dante as dead, but those people who have an issue with Dante dying haven't paid a whole lot of attention because if you look, Becky's dead, and how much is she in Clerks 3?
Yeah.
Kevin brings back dead people a lot, one way or the other. They're still there.
Hey, but
What
yeah,
I would like to see as a fan is, and people are going to definitely hate me when I say this word, a prequel. I want to see how Dante and Randall met, how they became to that friendship that we saw in Clerks. I want to know more of those
yeah,
stories.
yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, what's the chances of a Clerks 4 with Dante in an Obi-Wan type role, constantly in Randall's ear? It doesn't seem that unlikely.
no,
um, Speaking of looking to the future, I put this out there in the group actually the other day. What would you like to see more of? I know he's dropped some hints. We know a few things that are coming down the line. But would you prefer to see the sequels or prequels to the existing stuff? A Dogma 2, Mallrats 2, or would you like to see more? If it's not necessarily tied into the Universe in that universe with those characters, something like the 430 movie or Red State or Tusk or those sort of standalone.
I like seeing both. I mean,
Oh,
I,
yeah,
I really want to go both directions, and the reason I say that is when you go with your remakes, your sequels, like the one he's going to be working on, the Jay and Silent Bob Store
Star
Wars.
Wars.
When he's going to be working on that, your Return to Friends. It's like that. It's like
Yeah,
old Clerks. You know these characters. You've watched these characters. There's something fun about going back to it. There's a reason when you look in film history, we have so many Abbott and Costello films. While most of us modern don't get the Abbott, don't get into that genre. There's a reason there was so many of those because you relate to those characters, you love them, you want to see what they can get into just because. So I love seeing that, but I love Kevin branching out. 430 movie, I would actually put it as one of my top 3 films that he's done, and it does still tie in. I mean, those who have seen it knows exactly how it ties in. It's his life story, and his of him and his first girlfriend and what they would
yeah,
do during the days going to the theaters. But it's still separated from all that because it's not the same characters. I'd love to see more of that. I think Red State is his not necessarily my personal favorite, but I think it's his best film because it is so outside the box. He challenged himself, and when you watch that film, it's brilliant.
yeah,
And as he said, while making it, when he knew where it was going, he would write something different. He didn't want to see where the film was going to at the end.
yeah,
I love that, and that's one of those films that people haven't seen it, and I think it's because it doesn't have Jay and Silent Bob or any of the familiar characters. But when you watch it,
yeah.
those performances, Michael Parks and
Man,
Dan Aykroyd, man, that amazing, amazing
yeah.
roles, amazing performances.
Kids, if you're
I'm brought into it.
kids, if you're watching this, if you hate watching this because you don't like Kevin Smith, but you fucking hate watching this anyway, um, and so you're not exactly aware of Red State because you just know the other funny shit or whatever, go check it out. And you can still hate everything else. You can hate Jay and fucking Silent George and all of that shit. By all means, but go check out Red State because you just might find you like it. It's just a fantastically well made and incredibly acted movie. And
Yes, and the
Michael Parks and John Goodman are just off the chain. Parks knows no other way. That's all he could do. It's just the way he works all the time. But
and the
it's
topics that it
fantastic.
covers, I mean, are still relevant today.
Yeah,
They're as relevant now as they were then. I mean, that's what I love about that film. It really is a timeless film. It hits the points, and
yeah.
it's not like
It
anything else he does.
no,
It's not your typical
it,
dick and fart jokes.
it,
They're in there, but
yeah. It's still. I don't know if it's a dark humor or black humor. There's still humor there, but and it's a movie with a message, but it's not preachy. Well, I mean, they've always all about a preacher, but it's not. It's not hit you over the head with the social messaging. It's just a good ass film, a good ass. Well, I mean, if we have we've got our video store and we're putting Red State on the shelf. What genre? Where are we putting it? Is it thriller? Where do we put that?
with gore content, you could go horror, but I think it is more thriller. I
Yeah.
believe you're right. I mean, because
I mean,
it's not.
in the sense that, I mean, some places, like Silence of the Lambs, it is considered horror. I mean, if that ain't no Jason Voorhees, it ain't no slasher flick. So I mean, maybe in a world where Silence of the Lambs is horror, then maybe Red State is something similar.
See, that's just why I just make a Kevin Smith collection and put them all together. I don't have to worry about genres.
Well, yeah, we would
I
then.
will say for those interested who have seen Red State, if you've watched it, Kevin had a different ending in mind when he originally filmed it, but he said he couldn't do that ending because it would have costed over $3 million for that alone. But if you go on YouTube and Google, some people have went through and taken his interview where he talks about it and actually animated out that ending. So you can go and see the non-existent original ending animated. Kind of
Oh,
funny.
oh, that's passed me by. That I'll check that out. It's a good job you're here. So yes, so yeah, Mallrats was big for me. Was my first two. I I love. I like. I'm the same. Obviously, I just want just give it me. Just give me all of it. I'll just fucking cover me, face, neck,
Face,
and chest. And
face, neck, and
I'm fine.
chest.
Um, but yeah, so of course it's kind of a stupid question to ask a fan because we just want to see anything and everything that he'll do. It's like for most franchises, I'd kind of be like, I've I'm sort of done with sequels, prequels, whatever. But I think it's the the sort of the autobiographical storytelling of like the main line Obscurityverse movies that I can keep rolling with that. That I'm still interested in that, even though like I kind of know the story. The guy's very open and never shuts the fuck up, telling you all his woes and anything else. So I've cried with him, I've celebrated with him. We do that as fans. So like you kind of know, but as a wannabe sort of storyteller, I like storytelling and I like the way he separates himself from the characters, and it's every character is kind of a mix of two or three people, so it's not
Oh yeah.
super straightforward. Um, and so I can handle more sequels and prequels with those characters, with Dante and Randall, with Jay and Bob, or whoever else. But yeah, as someone who's appreciated his filmmaking style, his storytelling style, I do like to see sort of new IP. Like I'm always kind of there's about I'm hoping for that one that kind of that finally breaks him. you
Oh
know,
yeah.
that makes
What
him a
I
household name and makes him some fucking money. Um, or
touching on
something.
your storyteller, have you
Yeah,
watched many of his Evening with specials? He did 3 Evening with. He did
yeah,
his Too Fat for 40. He did one that was never released, Burn in Hell. He did Silent but Deadly.
yeah,
Those are
yeah.
some of the most. I love those. Hearing Kevin can tell a story unlike anyone else. I believe it was Too Fat for 40 that on there he got through one question really, and then at the end had to ask, "Did I answer your question?" Because he went so far off in his stories, he
Yeah.
couldn't even remember for sure if he answered what was asked. And I would love to have more of those. I could sit and listen to that man just talk and tell his stories, talk about his experience, and answer people's questions. I mean, I actually went to a live event and I was lucky enough to be the first one to the microphone. And in answering my question, it was a 45-minute long answer.
yeah, which is what we expect. What we like. So, you had the opportunity to meet the man, even if it's just to sign some shit for like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, I've met him. I've met him and gotten photos, not at a con photo setting, but actually after events and got to interact with him. I'd say 3 times close up. I've been to 4 or 5 of his events, evening with, and he knows me by name now.
Yeah,
At the last event I went to, after I asked my question, he goes, "Mark, here." He goes, "As many people know, I'll buy and make a lot of stuff with my face on it. Mark here is the only person I know who buys everything literally that I make. So I guess that it's one of those things in life to be like, well, one of my heroes knows me. He knows who I am.
Ah,
So,
that's
and he really
crazy.
is a hero. He is as big a fan as us as we are as them, and I think that's why his fandom endures with those who actually take that gap and get to meet him. Because anytime you have a meet and greet or anything, he's there. He hugs you. He's honestly interested in what you have to say about his film. He cares. I mean, and that I took my after my heart surgery, my mom helped me for the next couple of weeks because I wasn't even allowed to lift a gallon of milk. So she came and stayed through the week to help me do the basic stuff. I had already planned to go to his tour of Clerks 3. So she asked me, "Can I go with you?" Which I'm over 40 years old. Taking your mother to a Kevin Smith tour is still one of those. So I first re-showed her Jersey Girl, let her watch it, and she enjoyed it as most mothers do. Then I'm like, all right, here, let's watch Clerks 2. So yes, I watched a donkey show with not only my now wife on our date, I watched it with my mother
Yeah.
years later. But she enjoyed it. She went and I joined her up to the club, so she actually got to go to the meet and greet. So she got to interact with Kevin, and he it was just as smiling and interactive with her. And that to me, seeing him interact with everyone
Yeah.
the way he does, the man loves us as fans as much as we
And
love him. So
know,
I think that makes the fandom that much better.
yeah, I don't have I have such a minimal amount of celebrity status in my tiny little corner of the internet doing this. I know a few people. I'm not naming any names, but I have a few friends, uh, somewhat higher up the ladder uh, than I am, and they have been told by experts and people in the business we call show that know about these things. They have been highly recommended to not do exactly that. To not don't read the comments, don't talk to them, don't interact with them. Don't You'll be hanging around signing shit for hours and hours. You'll never get away, and you have to retain an air of mystery. Like there has to be an us or them, an us and them kind of a thing. They have to look up at you like you're something special. You have to keep a certain amount of distance, or you won't be famous anymore. Like they'll actually go off you when they realize you're just a person. And it's like, really? There are like experts telling people as they're sort of, on the cusp of certain level of stardom, to not do that. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
No, you got to. It's kind of like the whole old saying, "You got to dance with the one who brought you there." Your fans are why you're still famous. I mean, I
Yeah.
know they can't sit there and sign stuff for everybody and take stuff for everybody, but acknowledge them. What does it work to say? Hey guys, walk around, do a little bit. All right, I'll do this, but I got to leave.
Yeah.
Take group photos. I mean, there's the celebrities that I really get involved with or really start thinking, okay, I want to go see them live. Are those kinds? They are just as they're human. That's one thing I love about Kevin. When you meet Kevin, and if you ever meet any of the other people who are in his films, they're some of the nicest people I've ever interacted with in my life. So far, I've met Joey Lauren Adams, Jay, Brian O'Halloran, Ethan Suplee, Kevin, Ming. I've met all the comic book men except for Brian Johnson, and all of them they're down to earth. They're nice. They talk to you. My best time at a con was talking to Jay when he didn't have a crowd. We just sit there and talked about his kids and
Yeah.
everything else. Those kind of conversations with these people that we view and watch, but it's just normal. They just like, hey, yeah, that
Yeah.
is what makes fans and keeps fans.
Oh,
When you have that
totally.
air, and I wouldn't want to be in any other fandom. I guess that's why I'm so that and an experience I had with Kevin's fandom years back is why I'm such the fan I am today. And I mean,
So,
I can even tell you about that story if you want to know that story.
yeah,
But
go for it. Go day. That's what we're here
back in
for.
2013, I ended up having a back surgery. I had a herniated disc that calcified around my nerve bundle. I ended up with what's called cauda equina syndrome. Cauda equina is where all your nerve bundles in your back flow together and flow out like a horse's tail. Well, because of that calcification, it shut off the flow down my nerve bundle. I had no feeling in one leg, and the other one was going to sleep. When I went to the ER, they told me if I had waited one more day, I would have been permanently paralyzed. So I was in the hospital itself for 2 weeks. Then I did 2 weeks inpatient therapy and 2.5 months outpatient. When I was in my inpatient therapy, I was in the spinal cord rehab group. I was the only one in there that was going to be walking out. All the rest were learning to deal with wheelchairs and deal with it. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those. It's a heart wrenching situation when you realize so many, and it was people ages 13 up to I think 65 was the oldest in my group, and we're all learning to rehab to be able to continue on our lives afterwards. Well, during the day, it's not so bad. We have 3, 4 hours of therapy every day to get us, but on the weekend, you have one class and that's it. My wife, which I mentioned earlier, brought me my Kevin Smith collection of movies because I lived from. I had a little laptop there, so I didn't have a whole lot. This is 2013, so I had a few of his films, and she brought me all the evening whists because she knew I loved those even more because
Yeah.
it's hilarious. And the people in the rehab found out I had them, so some of them came over, asked to borrow some. I'm like, sure, so I loaned them out. I had nurses in there watching with me, and I could hear across the hallway, especially the one with the 13-year-old girl who that was a car wreck. She got hit in a car wreck, and I'm like, she's never going to even get to dance at her own prom. She's going to, they were laughing. They weren't crying. They weren't sad. They were sitting there laughing
Yeah.
together. And that hits home more than anything else. You're in there in a situation which should be somber. You have nothing to do but think. Your situation, what you're going through, but everybody was laughing and smiling. The words of a man who says he does nothing but dick and fart jokes changed the entire atmosphere and had everybody on a higher plane. They were happy to be there. They forgot themselves. They let themselves go and just enjoyed it. And I was always a fan, but from that moment, I was more of a super fan. I was like, okay, I see what he does. His movies, even just his word in the evenings, they transported you. They let you get away from whatever's bothering you and just have a chuckle, let go of some of that stress, some of that worry, and just enjoy yourself. So that started me that, and then in 2019, we had a rough year. My father passed away. We found out he had cancer. 5 weeks later, he was gone. My wife got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. I had a lot going on, and I started thinking, well, what else? What can I do? What can I have control of? And I thought back to all his films and what they meant, and how much I enjoyed them, and how they changed everything. And I made the good choice or mistake, depending how you look at it. If you look at my wallet, mistake. That's when I started really collecting, and I went from a single bookshelf to some of what you see behind me and what I showed you earlier. I mean, I'm in this room here, and almost all four walls are filled with stuff. so it, but I just dove into it because I love his world and I love all the stuff so much. It gave me an outlet, and like I said, I'm lucky that my wife, as I've mentioned a couple times, she she's okay with me having this stuff. I mean, I told her like, look, do you have a problem if I start collecting and putting it up there? I'll keep it there. She goes, okay. She's been fine with it. I mean, and she's actually went to some of the events with me since then. She went to that last evening with, and I've got a picture of me, her and her sister, which is her twin sister, which is a Kevin Smith fan. So I take her to events with me too. But we had all of us at the last event to meet Kevin. So it's been a really good positive experience overall. But
That's great. So you've got like so so you have the movies, the evening with, and so you'll take as you referred to earlier anything with his face on it. So you've got what like posters, shirts, hats.
well, here, I'll give you. I'll leave off the mess because there is some mess, but I'll kind of show you. These are the inaction figures that they've done over the years from the Clerks, and I actually
Yeah,
have the entire Chasing Amy series all signed by their actors. So there's
nice.
Bafeme's, Joey, Ben Affleck's, Jason Lee. I've got a Scott Mosier autograph. I've got one of the cool ones. That one there is actually signed by Steven Silver, who is
Oh,
the one who did the original drawings for these and did the animation style for the animated feature.
nice.
And you have some posters and filters. One of my favorite things, these here are film Mylars. So, okay, kids, those of you young ones who are less than 20, when you used to go to theaters to tell you the movie times and what was playing, they didn't have digital displays. So these are actually printed on Mylar and would post it up so we knew what films we were going to see.
Yeah.
So I have those. I've got hats, both regular and signed. Then a whole bunch of Funkos and other random stuff here. I have some. This on top, it looks sweaty and nasty. That was actually screen used from Clerks 3.
Oh, oh,
Um,
really?
I've become good friends with the guy Derek Barry who created the pop-ups with Kevin. And through our friendship, he's like, "Hey, I don't click, but I know you do. I'm sending you something." And that's what he sent me. And he's actually in Clerks 3. If you watch the scene where they're dancing outside of movies,
Oh,
he's one of
yeah.
the guys that's smoking up and dancing. So I have that. Then I have both of these, which one's from Clerks 2 and one's from Clerks 3, the cigarette packs. And another good friend actually gave me this as well, and that's a production name badge from Zach and Mary.
Yeah.
So I have some normal stuff, some abnormal stuff. I collect fan art as well. I've got binders. I won't go into all that. There's tons of those, but like I said, as you see, I got walls full of stuff. If he's made it, as he said, was he's made it with his face on it, I probably have it.
Hey, you've just got to get through this life.
I
Whatever
know,
makes you happy, man.
I know, and it's
Nailed it.
fun. Like I said, I know one of these days I'll have to offload as I don't have any kids, but until that time, I enjoy it
Oh,
because
man.
there's a
Yeah.
story to a lot of these pieces. There's stories and there's stuff to a lot of these pieces. It takes you back to that film. It takes you back to those moments. What about that you loved? One of my newest obsessions, and I'll put a shout out to him too. There's a company they're starting to sell them at the stash online. The company's called Bootleg as Fuck, and he makes beyond Kevin Smith stuff. He makes all sorts of other films,
Yeah.
and he does pop culture toys based on the stuff and just random things. Like you got Kiki Kelly. You can see, yeah.
Brilliant.
Sorry, you have all. You got Mallrats and the Pretzels. You got a fake one of Clerks 4 with a skeleton. So he does all sorts of these type toys. And like I said, the stash has now started selling them signed. There's actually one there of Milkmaid signed by Kevin. Oh, here, that's that one. Signed by Kevin and Grace. So it's actually signed by him and his mom. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
that's my newest
Great.
obsession just because I love the whole random pop culture reference that okay, what is he going to pick up little now that as a fan I'm going to go, ha! That other people are going, you have milk jugs on your wall? Well, you don't get it, but
Right. So we're at that point of the show. Do you want to play a game? Do you want to play a game? I always like to play a little bit of this or that. Just
okay.
get to know you. Yeah, just get to know you a little bit better. There are no wrong answers, of course. There are sure as shit no prizes. So, you know.
Well, dang it.
I mean, maybe, yeah, I mean, if I ever start getting paid for this, then it'll just go straight back out in prizes for people. I'll just find a way to get rid of it if I ever get anything in. It'll just go straight back out again. But in the meantime, just for fun, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs. More dogs than cats, it seems on here. Okay. Sweet or savoury?
Oof.
That'd be food, not personality.
Yeah. I'll go sweets. I've had a bit of a sweet tooth lately, and that's not good being a diabetic, but yeah, I gotta have some sweets, something.
Yeah, you're a morning person or a night person?
Definitely not. I suck at mornings.
Okay. Um, would you skydiving or scuba diving?
Scuba diving.
Have you?
Never, but that's always been more interesting. I love fish. I love aquariums. Skydiving. If I'm going under the ocean, I can easily come back up. If something goes wrong and you're skydiving, you're screwed. So,
Okay. Big parties or small gatherings?
small gatherings. I'd rather sit and actually interact with people than see a whole bunch of people I don't care about.
Yeah, quality over quantity. What else have we got? Oh, so the interesting ones. Okay. Would you rather have ice cream that doesn't melt or pizza that never goes cold?
Ice cream that doesn't
Yeah.
melt. Oh yeah, I can eat pizza either way. So as long
Yeah,
as
that's
it's
true. That's very
been
true.
cooked at one point, I'm good.
I've had many a breakfast pizza has been consumed by this hairy young man. Are you a bath or a shower person?
Shower.
Yeah.
Something about just sitting in your nasty water.
um, okay. Oh, how about this one? Okay. Would you rather be a genius in a world of fools or a fool in a world of geniuses?
Oh, a fool in a world of geniuses by far.
That would
It's
be
better to be
so fun.
dumb and not know it than know that you're smarter than everyone. Because you
Yeah.
get really infuriated with stupid people. As the saying goes, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. And you would know that there are stupid people in large groups. Where if you're the dumb one, you're just blissfully happy.
Oh, okay. Polka dots or stripes?
Stripes.
Stripes. Would you rather see a puppet show or a magic show?
Ooh. Now that one's actually a tough one because I like both, but I'll go with Magic Show because I've never seen an actual magic show live.
No, but what do you do? Do you like the close up, pick a card, any card, find the ball in the cup, misdirection magic, or do you like the make the Empire State Building disappear kind of a shit?
I appreciate all of that, but I like the close up better. The stuff that you can see that you're still going, well, how did they do that? Rather than, okay, well, that's going to be a simple effect. The stuff that truly has you baffled, that's what I like.
Yeah,
So
I think
definitely close
the
up stuff.
illusions. Yeah, the illusions can go so big that it kind of pulls you out of the immersion because you just know that ain't the Empire State Building's right there. I don't care. It fucking is, and you know it is.
And I
Uh,
think the sleight of hand takes a little more work. Usually the big stuff is more, hey, I've built this device, I've built this where this close up has that's them taking time and building
yeah,
those skills. So it's more of an art form.
I was actually at a birthday party the weekend gone, and just one of the guests he learnt a few little card tricks to entertain his young daughter and anyone else who's will sit still long enough to watch him, and I was truly truly amazed by this guy. And he was just laughing it off like, it's stupid. It's no big deal. I'm a total amateur. I just know a couple. But it was great because he had the pack of cards and I'm looking at the cards and he's like showing me the cards and then he's shuffling them all up and pick a card, any card. So I pick the card. I'm looking at the card. It's the seven of clubs, right? I can tell you. It's the, it's the seven of clubs. And he spreads all the cards out on the table and says, put it back in the pack any way you want. He hasn't touched it. I put it back in the pack. He cuts them all together and he gives them all another big fucking fancy shuffle and shit. And he goes, right, and now if I tap it, now wouldn't it be amazing if the one on top was your card? And he takes the one on the top, and lo and behold, it's the seven of clubs. And I go, nice, that is my card. And he goes, yeah. But you know what would be even more impressive? If like all the deck wasn't just seven of clubs. And he turns them over and fans them out, and they're all fucking seven of clubs. And I'm like,
Okay, that's cool.
okay, didn't see that little twist at the end coming.
That's awesome.
I was like, I'm glad I came now. Especially as I was the only one not drinking in a room full of Jaeger bombed fucking
Oh
morons.
God.
Uh, so, yeah, that was fun. What else have we got? Oh, would you rather live in a world with talking animals or talking plants?
Ooh. Let's go with animals. Being a pet owner, I'd love to actually know what they're thinking sometimes when they're doing stupid stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they make great efforts. It
Of course, the
feels like
downside is
maybe we anthropomorphize a lot, I know, but it seems like they do try really
of
hard
course,
sometimes. Like makes me feel like we're the stupid ones
oh yeah. Well,
sometimes because
the
they're
downside is
really
that
trying.
if your
um,
if your pet could talk, what they would tell you that they've seen. That would be the downside to that one.
okay, the potentially controversial ones: Star Trek or Star Wars. Yeah,
You got to go with Star Wars. I mean, one following Kevin's world that falls into place too. But I remember my dad watching more of Star Wars as younger. I used to think I was a Star Wars fan. I'm not a Star Wars hater, but I'm more of the connection that I had with his thoughts and feelings of it
yeah,
than I am my personal ones. And I've realized that as I get older. Now, that being said, you give me all the original Jim Henson's input and the things they had back then. And Star Wars was groundbreaking. Star Wars gave us the effects that look at how far ahead of its time it was back then. Now that being said, let's stick with the original three. After that, I can't vouch either way. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I get pulled up sometimes with this, like they're two very different things, and it's like I know it's just a bit of fun. They both have star.
Yeah.
They're just two big sci-fi franchises. Fucking hell, I know one's like kind of all politics and shit, and the other one's like, oh, I've got an hand off. I know they're very different things, but it's just for fun, much like Pokemon or Dragon Ball.
Let's go Pokemon. Just why not? It
um,
had a fun
okay. Oh,
newer movie.
okay. So the last one. Yeah, I think you're the first person I might be asking this. Would you rather fart glitter or burp confetti?
Let's burp confetti because if you fart in public, you can still try to blame it on someone else. But if there's glitter coming out your ass, everyone knows it's you.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So, meanwhile,
Love it.
um,
Love it.
back to the reason why we're here. So, to broaden things out a little bit, maybe, from Kevin Smith, what was the last film? I imagine you're a relatively avid movie watcher, TV series lover, when you get the time. But what was the last movie you watched that you'd recommend? Now, this doesn't, I don't necessarily mean the latest, the newest one, but just, over the last few weeks. You might be watching something from 30 years ago,
Honestly, lately I've been watching the old classics. Like the last thing I watched from start to finish was the Three Amigos again. I was flipping through randomly, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't watched that in a while. Let's watch it.
Yeah.
And that's what the kick I've been on. I've been trying to go back and watch the old classic. I want to watch that. I watched the original Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
I tried to find it. It wasn't streaming anywhere. I'm going to have to dig up my DVD of Real Genius. I've been on this 80s classic film
Yeah.
kick. I want to go back and relive these films that I loved years ago. And one, just because I remember them and make sure they're what I remember, but see how they stand up.
Yeah.
Some films really stand up and are still good. Others you watch and you're like, what? I like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
So,
are you able to do that? To sort of like put the nostalgia and the warm fuzzy feelings to one side and kind of go, you know what? I mean, it'll always have a soft spot because of whatever, the way you got into it back in the day. But you can look at it now and go, yeah, you know what? It's a bit shit. Are you
oh
capable
yeah,
of doing that?
for most films I am. I mean, and I'll be honest, even some of Kevin's films, I watch it, I'm like, I like this, I'm going to collect it, but I may not watch it more than once or twice.
Yeah.
Now, not many of it. Most of the stuff I love. I mean, he has his that he even makes fun of. Like he makes fun of yoga hosers, and I'll be honest, I've now watched it three times, and I enjoyed it more this last time. The first time was I was like, well, I'm like, I want to rewatch it again. And I think that's the whole, like I said, your life experience and the time of your life with everything going on when you
Yeah.
watch something can greatly influence your appreciation of it, and how you take it. So, but yeah, a lot of those older films, some of them were great, but watching back, like I tried to go watch the original Tron the other day, and I couldn't do it. I tried it, and it's a good film, but when you start seeing all those effects, it's kind of I'm like I can't right now. I've not got the mind focus to no. Let me just watch something stupid. Let me pull up YouTube and watch something else for 30 minutes, and then
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, Tron's a tough one. When it's something so effects heavy as Tron was, it's going to date itself, isn't it? Decades down the
Yeah.
line. But yeah, I like to think I can do it. I mean, I like thinking with the 80s stuff. Like the John Hughes flicks, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, all of that. They sort of they never get old for me. I can return to those time and time again. I mean, well, it's people sat around in detention talking. There's no aliens, there's no spaceships, there's nothing to kind of date it. It's just, and most of the subject matter is still fairly relevant, or if you've just moved on as a grown up and it's not high school bullshit, but you were there and it was relevant, even if it's not now, or maybe now it's relevant to your children. Perhaps sometimes in my case, and it's like I'd try and watch them with the boy, and it's like see if it still works, you know. So yeah, you know that I can do. Pretty in Pink in particular is a favourite of mine. Molly Ringwald is a favourite of mine. That's a
Oh,
completely different thing
have you
altogether.
seen have you seen Not Another Teen Movie?
Yeah,
At the end of that movie, her look and go, fucking teenagers. Every time she utters that line, I lose it just because of who she is and
yeah,
what she
man.
did. I'm just like, okay, that.
Yeah,
But another one of
especially
those films, War Games. There's so
yeah,
much in that movie that nothing stands up. I mean, using a separate modem to dial into nobody. Yeah,
yeah.
it's still a good concept movie, but you have to know, okay, this is from 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Where do you stand on Back to the Future? Well, in the
It's
eighties.
one of
What's
my
your take on those?
it is one of my favorite films. And I know there's problems with it, but I actually another brand that I started collecting recently. I don't know if you've heard of Bull Airs. They do a lot of shoe pop culture drops.
All
I
right.
have the McFly jacket. I've got a cap coming, and I actually have. I've not got them yet, but I've got the Bull mags that light up coming. So yeah, I love me some Back to the Future.
you know, it was it was only a fairly recent thing for me to find out that people don't. I just thought it was one of those like universally loved things. I
Mhm.
like it. I don't love it. I can watch it. I won't complain. One of those kind of like if you were channel hopping back in the day, not so much surfing the titles like we do now, it could stay on. Uh, I think I own it. I own the trilogy, a couple of probably on VHS, DVD. Probably haven't bothered with a Blu-ray. You know, I could watch it, but I don't dislike it. It was only fairly recently I realized some people just fucking hate it or just don't get it. Just have no time for it. I didn't realize
Uh,
that.
oh yeah, I think no matter what it is, someone's going to hate it. I mean, as Kevin saw with his He-Man series, yeah, if you make it, they're going to hate it. But Back to the Future, have you ever played the game?
The Back to the Future game I remember playing. I played on the C64.
Okay,
It was probably
they,
the
they,
last time I played a Back to the
well,
Future game.
this one may be newer than that. It was put out by Telltale Games,
Oh,
and they've
yeah, I
released it.
remember
I know
seeing
it's
it
on.
out. No, didn't play it.
That, that is a game. If you like the Back to the Future stories, play the game. The gameplay isn't that great. It's not that super hard or anything, but the story, it was actually written by the writers and has the actual
Yeah.
uh, actors voicing some of the characters. Michael J. Fox. Now he doesn't voice his character, but he voices a relative character in it. So his
Okay.
voice is in it. I mean, it's got all the characters. It's got the writers. So I'm like, okay, if you like that story, this ties in perfectly with it. And it's worth playing. It's a fun little game,
Yeah.
but it's not like I said, it's not one of those. It's not Grand Theft Auto or Halo or anything. It's going to take you super immersive, but you're going to get into the story because it ties in so well.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So, oh, fuck it. I could, we so we get down an 80s rabbit hole. We could be here all night. But yeah, with those 80s, oh man, the 80s. And we so then of course you've got the huge action flicks, the action stars, all the Schwarzenegger stuff. I'm a sucker for Schwarzenegger too. I know the guy can't act for shit. I know, but
But you just gotta love them.
yeah, I know he's not necessarily the most loyal or faithful, or, um, you know. But I don't know the guy personally. I probably never will. I just appreciate his art, such as it is. And I will go back to Terminator 1 and 2 and Predator and Running Man over and over and over again. Edgar Wright is apparently bringing us a Running Man remake in the not too distant future.
I'm scared for that one.
I,
That the other one was such a, but that's one that when you rewatch it too, it still partially holds up, but a lot of it doesn't. It's like,
yeah, it very much conceptually. We feel we're almost there. This could be on. It could be a live event on Netflix any time now. Uh, but yeah, maybe some
That's
of the
sadly
effects,
true.
some of the kind of hulkiness. But and I know people will say it's really quite far from the book, but I don't care. The movie's fun. Maybe the Edgar Wright movie will be closer to the book. That doesn't necessarily going to make it better if it's not as much fun. If I don't enjoy it, the Total Recall remake with Colin Farrell is way closer to the book, way closer to the more accurate to the source material. Don't like it anywhere near as much
No,
as
I do
Arnie's movie.
appreciate the little references that they threw into the original film, though, here and there. But it's not as fun to watch, not at all. It's kind of like
No,
RoboCop, even. But I wonder if it's because these newer ones are good, but it's not ours. Any kind of remake. I think that's what the problem it always faces is
yeah,
the generation that it comes out in. They embrace it, they love it. Us who had the original, most of the time are like, that's okay, because we're always going to have that comparison to the first one that hit with us, which is why we go to see it. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know, but yeah, I agree with you entirely on that.
yeah. I
Just
think, funnily enough, the 2014 RoboCop released this day, 2014, or was it
oh,
yesterday? I forget, but this week anyway. In 2014, RoboCop was huge for me. RoboCop was, seen too young and blew my mind. Loved every second of it. It's a film I cannot separate from. I regress to early teen me and just love it every time I watch it. I can't pick the faults in it. I'm blind to it. I'm sure there are many, but I'm just totally blind to it. I can't do it with that one. Uh, but the remake with this star-studded cast. This is a film with Michael Keaton, Samuel L. Jackson. This is a fantastic cast. You look at the cast for the RoboCop remake, kids. If it passed you by, or if you'd like to forget all about it, if you watched it once and went "Grr," and never again, just a reminder. If you look at the cast list, it's a film you're going to want to watch just based on the cast until you realise it's the RoboCop remake, and then you go fuck that shit. But it's not a bad movie. It's just RoboCop was so specific. It had such a specific thing. It's the Verhoeven thing. It's the ultra violence and all of that. And this is a PG-13 RoboCop, which doesn't quite. It doesn't hit that in that same way in on many levels. But I don't know. It's not a bad film. The concept is there. Man, machine, humanity. What does it all mean? Or like if they if just a few more people went to see it to maybe make the sequel, because unlike the original RoboCop, which is very much kind of a one and done, but we got a few sequels because it was successful. The the RoboCop reboot was intended to be at least two movies, and maybe watched in the round after the second movie, had we got one, it could have changed everything. Because I do think the storytelling is there. I think they had an idea. I think maybe they were just maybe the idea to drag it out over multiple movies was the big mistake. If they'd have gone all in on one movie with whatever they had in mind for the sequel, could have been a whole different kettle of fish because the cast is great, the effects are great, uh, but it's this non-lethal rubber bullets and all that shit is not what the original fans want to see. But maybe that's the thing that would have happened in the sequel. Maybe that version of Alex Murphy would have gone, this ain't cutting it. This ain't good enough in Detroit. I'm going to have to step my game up, and go all medieval on their asses. And we'd have all been like, ah, this is actually good. But not to be. Never happened. And never will.
No, not nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, what's okay? Let's try and do this both ways. What's like a movie or a TV show that they haven't done yet that you really, really would say stay the fuck like it's sacred to you, like just fucking don't. And what would you actually like to see? What do you think really deserves sort of like upscaling and remastering with the better effects and techniques that we have?
You know, I don't think I have necessarily anything that is so precious to me that I wouldn't want to see them redo it.
Yeah,
I like the concept. I love seeing things reimagined, redone.
yeah,
But but my big thing is anymore, if they do it, I want it done with actual intent. I don't want it just kind of like, hey, we've got this, let's do this. Like Disney anymore has a concept of, hey, we have all these animes, let's just make them all live action. Was this one popular enough to make live action? I don't know, but we did that one, so let's do this one. It's like they're not doing it because they truly believe in it. Hey, let's really bring this product forward. It's kind of one of those, hey, let's make some more money. That's kind of my fear with the Muppets. I love the Muppets. I love all the original ones. The Muppets are, oh, that's my one regret. The one time I went to
yeah.
New York, I didn't go to the museum that had the Muppets in it. I love the Muppets. I went geeky a few years back at a comic convention because somebody had a cosplay of Big Bird. I mean, full size
Yeah.
Big Bird. I went I went nuts. Almost ran across the floor. Like I've got to get a picture with him. I mean, that to me that is, I think more that's where my childhood is. I'm okay with them making more, but still, it needs to be non-Disney-fied, if that makes sense. They try to make it too kiddie. They try to make it too, and some,
Yeah.
some things are really good. The recent series they did with the
Oh,
Doctor
with
Teeth and the Mayhem, that was amazing.
that
That had the feel of
was
the
so
original
good.
Muppets.
Yeah.
I wish they would do more of that, but it seems that, hey, let's put the 13th Christmas movie out. No, do something that's going to have an impact. So I don't think anything's necessarily off limits. I like that people are being inspired by the stuff that we watched and loved and was inspired
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
I just want it to be done for a reason, not just, hey, let's just throw this together and you know I'll give it some thought. Do it because you care about it and you want to see it done that way,
Yeah.
not just to make money. And that's, I know it's got to make money, but it needs to have that heart in it. And I think that's, we get stuff that's mass produced anymore that's put out there. Hey, you want to do this? Sure, okay, we'll pay you. I think that's what's happened to a lot of our stuff today, and that's
It
sad. But
certainly seems that way. So what would you like to see? What have they not got round to yet? What do you keep thinking every time there is a new reboot, remake, or whatever? You're like, it's never. You'd like to see.
that's actually a tough question. Honestly, going back into the youth, give me back the Cannonball runs. Give me those series where you have groups of friends together. We
Yeah.
have a lot of, bring in these multi
Oh, oh,
cast.
oh, there we go.
I love
There we go. We're back.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, maybe not. I mean, it might not be my pitch. I might not exactly like right now. The kind of the superhero shit is a little bit off the boil. The alleged superhero fatigue, which I personally don't believe in, because superhero fans don't get fatigued for superheroes. The only people with superhero fatigue are the casual fans who came along for the ride, and I'm glad they did, but they were never fully on board anyway, and they finally had enough. Well, we've had a good run, and so now the audiences are smaller because it's kind of really mostly only fans that are left. Uh, but so it might not be the greatest idea right now, but I was always kind of surprised, like when the whole superhero movie thing was really, really blowing up, and we had some $300 million movie out every week. It seemed by somebody or other. And if it wasn't like a DC or a Marvel movie, there would be all these more independent comic books and smaller films would be picking up any license they could get their hands on and churning out these films. Or people were writing original characters, which is great. I like to see that. So I thought if ever we were going to get a Defenders of the Earth movie,
Okay.
it was going to be sometime. I mean, now we're talking maybe 10 years ago. It didn't happen. So I'm not sure it's going to happen now amidst the backlash. But I could watch that. I could go for that.
That would be fun. There, there are a lot in that realm that, like you said, that they could have done. That
Yeah, I know because we had the one, you know, Flash Gordon movie that people again. It's quite a divisive. It's either love or hate, or it's just that is pretty dated. The soundtrack's still pretty good. um, but
do you think what do you think caused the demise of all those though? I mean, like you said, like they did we just get oversaturated between like you said, was it too much all at once? Too many movies, too many TV series, and the
you
flow
know
between it just
what?
is hard to latch on to one. Or
I think I think like with anything, it's a bunch of contributing factors all falling in line. Uh, but for me, I think it's yeah, they might have whoever they are, they may have pushed their luck a little bit with just how much they could throw out there. Maybe they panicked a little bit, knowing this probably has a finite lifespan. Let's just try and milk it while we can. Perfect, an understandable logic, which may have bit them in the ass, looking back. But I do feel like now we talk about superhero movies like it's a thing, like it's normal. They're billion. Some of them have been $1 billion movies. Incredibly mainstream movies. But they're still superhero movies or comic book movies. That's a very niche thing to decide to make a movie out of, which you wouldn't imagine gets you a massive audience. The MCU wasn't the first attempt to make a comic book movie. There have been many,
no,
many more kids before the
oh,
MCU. Go find
oh,
them. Some of them are okay. And we
oh,
took
Dolph Lundgren,
Dolph
In that
Lundgren's funny
Captain
shit.
America movie from years ago. Oh God,
Yeah,
that was
man.
horrible.
Yep.
Oh, and well, the original Masters He-Man movie.
I
Oh my
yeah.
God,
That
that had
was
nothing to do with them except for the character names.
that original that Dolph Lundgren Motu movie. That was I love that film so much. As bad as it is, it was my first. It was the first time, at least the first time I remember actually going to the cinema. Uh, Here in the UK, it opened on Boxing Day, and part of what helps me really remember it is Boxing Day is a really really big family day uh, uh, for us, more so than Christmas Day. Christmas Day, like individual families, obviously you have your Christmas, the your closest. But Boxing Day, everybody came round to my grandma's house, a very
Oh, that's
small
cool.
house, and like I mean, people would come from like the other side of the country or other countries if they moved for this thing. So that was a big deal, and not going was not an option. you know, Attendance was mandatory, but somehow my brother managed to get me and my best friend at the time, the kid from a couple of doors down. We were able to go because it's Masters of the fucking Universe. We didn't know what it was going to be like, and as kids, we weren't actually all that picky. We got to go, and that will stay with me for some time. So I can't help but yeah, I have a soft spot for it. I think there's a lot that it actually gets right. I still to this day I still feel there is a lot that it gets right. Langoliers Skeletor, is a tricky character to do. Jared Leto's going to have a crack at it, apparently, at some point, if that ever really happens, this live action Netflix movie.
If anyone could pull it off, he might be the one who could.
I, I mean, people give that kid a hard time, but he doesn't fuck around. If you give him something to do, he kind of goes all in on it, you know. So, and I think if you're going to do Skeletor, that's you're going to need someone to go all in on it. You're going to need someone to go, how can I ground this in reality? It's like, no, just fucking be Skeletor, you know? I don't necessarily want to see a grounded, gritty, real Skeletor. Like, not really. I don't think
No.
that's what the fan base wants. So, Leto, if you given half a chance, I, I think I think that's kind of almost sets the tone. I think where at least someone involved in making the movie, where they're going. When you start looking at the cast, I think He-Man's a somewhat unknown, big lad, athletic-looking dude. Go for it. What else do you need? Some acting chops would be nice, but do you really need any? You know, to be He-Man. I don't imagine great amounts of exposition and soliloquies needed, for that role. So,
Can, can you lift this sword up? Can you say,
yeah,
I have the power?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Dude, the fucking script drops in the mailbox. It's like it's written on like a fortune cookie sized piece of paper. It has 4 words on it. um, but yeah, yeah. So yeah, where did the superhero movies go wrong? It was a very niche thing to do, especially the continuous universe, the cinematic universe that Marvel specifically wanted to do, which everybody involved in Hollywood told them no. They said don't do it. They said it'll never work, and they said it won't translate to films. It works in the books, great. You've got it. You've been doing it for decades, but it won't work. Cinema, don't do it. It's not worth the risk. Make some movies, yes, but this connected universe thing, no, don't do it. So they were told not to do it. So it's fucking awesome and punk rock that they just went, fuck you, we're Marvel, we know what we're doing. We're getting our IPs back, we're gonna do it. No, we don't trust Universal anymore. No, we don't trust Sony anymore. We certainly don't trust Fox anymore. We're gonna fucking do it. That's great. So hats off for that. And when you think they started with, I start with Iron Man, 2008.
Oh,
I know
100%.
people want to start with Ed Norton's Hulk because it has the cameos in the end credit scene, but that's a Universal movie, which is why we didn't get a Hulk movie because the rights have only fairly recently gone back to Disney Marvel. So the first legitimate Marvel Studios movie is Iron Man. So I start there. With any conversation like this, I start with Iron Man. Now, why did they start with Iron Man? Because Iron Man's amazing. He's the best character ever. No. And Robert Downey Jr. was born to play that part. Maybe. You know that now in hindsight. It's a fantastic movie. It's fucking amazing. My cinematic experience, and I took the boy. We went with friends. It blew me away. But at the time, it's pretty obvious they started with Iron Man, a very much third tier character who's had his book pulled off the shelves mid story arc because nobody's buying this fucking thing. He's not a big character that people like. Someone at Marvel does because he does keep coming back. They keep rebooting the guy. They keep trying. They keep pushing. But never been a big seller. I know there's rights issues with like Spider-Man and Foxx, like Fantastic Four, and obvious big hitters that they could have gone with. But they could have still gone with Cap, and they didn't. There are other, perhaps, higher tier characters than Iron Man, certainly, that they could have gone with. So I think they started small, like toes in the water. Like if it doesn't work, like everybody's telling us it won't, we could just go, well, it's Iron Man. Wait till we give you the big names, you know? Then you'll realize. But as it happens, and again, the film made a profit, but it didn't set the world on fire. People love it now. There's a lot of retconning, I think, with the MCU when people are trashing on the new stuff, and they've got these rose tinted spectacles for this golden era of pre Endgame Marvel because Iron Man made a profit, meant they could do another one, but it was something that superhero fans went to see who were predisposed to see it. There wasn't really it took quite some time. Thor was the same. Uh, it turned a profit. Didn't make big bucks. Didn't set anybody. Didn't get fucking 5-star reviews, 10-star reviews, or anything. A lot of people had no interest. You've got a no-name actor in the starring role. You've got Thor. Well, you kind of know it's a mythological character. It didn't really attract that much attention. Wasn't really that bothered. The Captain America film outright fell on its ass. The first Avenger flopped. There's no other way around it. If you base these things on money made anyway, not on what people actually say about it, I like it. But it, it lost money. Captain America fucking lost money. And still, they have the stubborn cojones to carry on with this shit. And somehow, we then get this team-up movie with with two characters that were and one that flopped, with a couple of side characters. Remember the guy who's starting to root for Thor? Remember the guy stood up there who said he's going to be in it? What? He's a superhero? No, he's not a superhero, but he's going to be in it. He's got a bow and arrow. That'll be fun. The hot chick from who's in Iron Man for like 5 minutes. Yeah, she's going to be in it. Oh, she's a superhero. Actually, no, she's not either. But she's going to be in it. Like, this is not looking good in many ways on paper. If you're like, the board of directors. But there was something about Avengers that somehow, and then also looking back, you've got all these issues with Joss Whedon. We'll not talk about that, but and Avengers somehow got a few extra people to sit up and take notice. So it took right up to Avengers and post Avengers because Iron Man 3 wasn't a big hit. Thor 2 is a lot of people's easily least favorite movie, or at least until they started hating on Eternals and shit. So like, it wasn't the most amazing time of your life for a lot of people. Not by a long shot. This was a slow burning thing before it became a cultural phenomenon and a cinematic juggernaut and all of those kind of phrases. It didn't do that overnight. They had to have faith in their product and in the fan base that they felt they could grow if they just stuck at it. And then and grow it did, and justified them sticking at it to the point that it became a cultural phenomenon. They became event movies. They went from niche to being event cinema. So everyone just had to go, whether you were a fan or not, whether you were familiar with the character or not, to the point that they could make Guardians of the Galaxy that even a lot of legit comic book fans don't know or are vaguely aware of, but have never really read, but they can make it, and it can become a lot of people's favorite movie, because this is when we got the casuals on board. I don't mean that to sound as derogatory as it does. I mean, we've just got movie fans. It's no longer superhero fans or comic book fans. Now we've just got movie fans going, oh, check. I won't be put off by the fact that it's a comic book movie. I'll watch it as an action movie, an action comedy. And we start getting into Winter Soldier, and it's just an outright, it's a spy thriller. It's up there with James Bond or the Bourne movies or some shit like that. Taken or John Wick, I don't know. It's up there with those. And people could just watch it on that level. Forget all about the superhero bullshit and just watch it like one of those movies. And that's when you pick up the different audience. So that's where the money comes from. That's
Makes
where
sense.
the $1 billion movies start to kick in, and a certain amount of and all the media is kissing ass, and they couldn't get a bad review if they wanted to. Actual people can pick their favorites, but the media was basically just the reviews were writing themselves. They were just falling over themselves to say how great everything was, even if it wasn't. Let's be honest. The media was doing that, which then again, it brings people in to go, well, everything's saying it's amazing. It has all these 5-star reviews. I need to go see this movie. I like to think I enjoy movies. I'm a cinema buff. I need to go. And so you had all those people on board. And they stayed the course for quite some time, for a lot longer than the Marvel Studios really had any right to expect these people to put up with their spandex bullshit. Now I think they're done. They've seen enough. And it's not necessarily because there's a waning quality. I don't think. Because if we're comparing the pre-end game and post-end game. So if we're comparing Shang-Chi, the Eternals, the Marvels, I picked those three because they're the three I see the most shit written about. If we're comparing them, because people didn't like Iron Man 2, people hated Mickey Rourke in that movie. Mickey Rourke shit, actor shit, character shit. People hated his performance in that movie. People hated Thor: The Dark World easily on the same scale as people are hating on Eternals. And I don't hate it quite on that level, but it's definitely worse than Eternals. Eternals is definitely better than Thor: The Dark World. For me, it's all one man's little beardy opinion. Not all of these post-Endgame movies crap. It's a different audience now. And also be left with a majority of fan audience. Fanboys are a bad audience in many ways. They're not the audience you want. The people screaming, that's not what happens on the page, are not really the people you want watching your movie. The guys who can't get their head round it's not supposed to be what happens on the page. It's the cinematic universe. That's the literary universe. It's a different thing altogether, which is why I like it. I've read the books. I know what happens. If you gave me a panel by panel retelling, I'd be bored. I've seen that. The fact that it has its own nuanced little twists, and my comic book knowledge simply gives me a heads up for direction of travel, but yet they can still throw some curveballs at me that they didn't quite do that. They didn't quite go there. That keeps me interested, and that keeps me watching. Uh, but that's I feel like I'm in a bit of a minority in that sense. So I think it's a combination of all that kind of a thing. But
Makes a lot of sense. That's a good answer too. I mean, that's
that's a
very
long
on
ass
point, I
answer.
believe. Well, it is, but I think it's very on point. I mean, it makes I follow. You know, as long as it is, I follow along with all of it. It hits the buds. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. I mean, I think that's with the Marvel films and things. That's why I think I can get into them as much. Dad collected comics. I've read comics. I'm not avid. Hey, I've read every issue of.
Yeah,
I'll pick them up and read them. I like getting trade paperbacks or one shots because hey, I
yeah,
have it all in one in my hand instead of having to try to keep up series, go through it. That's why I have a hard time with the TV shows of the Marvel movies, and that I have a hard time sitting down and watching day in and day out. Give me something I can watch in an hour and a half and be done with it and enjoy it. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and I think that's why I've enjoyed all the films. I know who the characters are. I kind of know what's going to happen. I don't I don't necessarily care if it's word for word how they got from point A to point B. I like having the different game
yeah.
options.
It is. I mean, like I said, I feel as a big comic book fan, I think it's better that it isn't. But I see huge amounts of complaints online, and I just think everything you're complaining about is what I think is good on a regular basis. I think the Marvels. Did you see the Marvels?
I haven't yet.
I,
So, but I'll tell you what, I've been debating on it. I will watch them sometime in the next
I,
week.
I recommend it. I recommend. I've been recommending it. I went to see it opening weekend. It's a good ass time. It's a fun movie. It's a superhero movie. People with superpowers put on silly costumes and fly around and shoot lasers out of their hands and their eyes and shit. And there's cats, but they're aliens. And there's a bad guy, and they beat the bad guy, and everybody, lives happily ever after. Fucking what? What's not to like? It's fun. It's fun. It's got some of the best fight choreography for quite some time. If you're into that kind of thing,
Oh yeah.
some of the fight scenes are phenomenal. There's a whole. It's not really a spoiler. There's like a switcheroo thing they have going with the three Marvels. When they use their powers, they teleport to each other's location, and they try and learn how to enhance that and use it to help them. And it's brilliantly choreographed and worked out. I find that shit fascinating. I think that was great to watch. And the comedy is some of the best comedy they've had for some time. A little
Okay.
less like forced, shoehorned in, like, oh shit, we forgot to better write a joke. It's a Marvel movie. It's a little less like that and a little more natural. Samuel L. Jackson in particular he's less like Nick Fury and more like Samuel L. Jackson for his relatively small part in that movie, and it's a good thing.
That's
So
awesome.
it's fun. It's fun. Is it deep and meaningful? No. It does tie into the greater narrative in enough of a way for it to be part of the narrative, but it can be watched as a one-off, I think, as well. Uh,
Good deal. Oh.
I would recommend it for a fun action comedy. It's a buddy comedy. There's three, right? Three of them instead of two. They have the little niggly moments and what have you. It's fun. You watch them, learn together, the power of friendship, and all of that good stuff. If you're, you know, a little bit soft,
Gee, I'll check it.
like we are, yeah. I think someone who can enjoy Jersey Girl can enjoy the Marvels.
Hey, yes.
And we're back.
Well, we know.
See what we did
Well,
there.
we know I do.
Um,
We know I do that. Uh,
you know, let's
honestly, that
let's
is that was one of my favorite films of his too, Jersey Girl.
yeah.
Sad, but that introduced an entire world to Sweeney Todd. How many people had never heard of Sweeney Todd until he incorporated it in there?
Yeah, let's bring it right back to the beginning. Kids, if you're just joining us, you missed it. You missed it. There's been sex, violence, rock and roll, drugs, there's been naked women, aliens. It's been amazing. You missed it though. You missed it. You're late. It's your own fault. I have no sympathy. You can catch it on YouTube sometime over the next couple of days though, so it'll be right. But this, I'm talking to Mark Lamb, Kevin Smith, a Universe collector, super fan, fan page moderator. So we'll get back to a bit of Smith talk. Jersey Girl, Jersey Girl. Sorry if this is just like a niche for anyone not so Kevin Smith inclined, but fuck you. I have been advertising that this is what it was going to be. So, so Jersey Girl, who legitimately likes Jersey Girl, as do I.
Oh,
Uh,
I love it.
I feel like I don't know if he's ever said this, but like it's obvious he was going to try and make a Kevin Hughes film at some point, a more obvious, somewhat on the nose kind of John Hughes film, and I feel like Jersey Girl's the closest he's got to doing that. And as a John Hughes fan, he doesn't fail. I
No,
think it's post John Hughes movies, it's the best non John Hughes movie that I could think of.
the failure in that film has nothing to do with Kevin. I think it's that the audience was going in expecting, they've had Mallrats. They just had Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah,
They're expecting that kind of humor, and this is a PG-13. It's a little more toned down. It's not as in your face. I mean, the dick and fart jokes are still there. They're subdued, and that I think is one of the great things of that film is that you can watch it. I mean, that was the first one that when my mom wanted to go watch Clerks 3 with me, which Clerks 2, watching a donkey scene in Clerks 2 with your mother to prepare her for that is still something I won't get over quickly. But watching that film, it's a feel good film. You feel great at the end of it. You enjoy every. Uh, you get that lighthearted humor. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, and for those who hated the whole Benifer thing, she dies in the first 5 minutes. I mean, it is though it is lighthearted. It's great. I mean, you have a character, an amazing character, and you could see George Carlin act. He acts his ass off
It
in that film.
really does.
You
It
you
really
you
does.
grow to love him. You see him in his role.
And
You know, as that caring father and grandfather. You see that out of him. You
yeah,
believe it. You buy into it. You don't see the man who's famous for his dirty word sketch. You
yeah,
see,
it's so easy. It's so
yes,
easy to cast George Carlin and have him be George Carlin. And it's what a lot of people want to see. George Carlin's in a movie. I'm going to go see George Carlin. It's fine. I understand that. But Kev took a chance making this movie of like, hey, George, ever fancied acting? Yeah, I've been in loads of stuff. No, I mean, actually acting. And damn, he pulls it off.
yeah,
And Liv Tyler, too. Liv Tyler is so fucking cute. She lights up every scene. She's not just the hot chick. I mean, she is, but she's not just that. She's so cute. She's full of so much energy in that movie. She's so likable. To
mm-hmm.
get that, and the chemistry seems to work pretty well. I know, I know that the making of the movie isn't Kevin's favorite time to go back and reminisce about. He put a lot of pressures on himself to make the different kind of movie. He's making the studio movie, and he tried not to have all his friends in this one and be a little more, I don't know, professional. So I know he didn't quite have the fun that he usually does on set with a lot of his other things. So I know it's not his fondest memories, but when all said and done, after everything's edited and the movie's out there, it's a good movie.
Did you realize he also told the future in one of the scenes when he picks up when Ben Affleck picks up Gertie that he calls his vehicle the Batmobile.
Oh,
So Ben Affleck's driving the Batmobile, and then here we get
well,
Batfleck.
hey, Batfleck forever, yo. I will say this. I will die on that hill. Uh, I'm not actually particularly a big fan of the movies, but Affleck's performance, the very concept of Affleck as Batman. Okay, by the time he got to do it, it has to be the crusty old, the actual Dark Knight version of Batman. Uh, People don't like the movies, or the Snyderverse has its fans. It also has its many haters. I think because people don't like the movie, they can't necessarily separate the performance from the movie. But I think Affleck is a for that era, that version of Batman, that old crusty. You know what? Fuck it. I just might start shooting people. Version of Batman. This would be in my head. This is like a Batman who Bane's broke him, and he's rehabbed himself back, and he's just kind of done with this shit, and he's gone completely off the deep end, and he's so close to becoming sort of like more like Daredevil or the Punisher. That Batman had Affleck had the opportunity to make because he never actually got to be in a Batman movie. He's in a Superman movie and he's in a Justice League movie, but he never made a Batman movie. If he could have had a Batman movie, which it seems like there was one ready to go, that he would have directed and himself given half a chance as well. Had he had the chance to do that, I think people might look at him differently in regards to Batman. I will die on that hill. I think he's a great Batman.
Oh yeah, I
I think
agree
he could have
entirely.
been a great Batman 20 years previous. um, I don't think he did. I don't think he was a particularly bad Daredevil by all accounts.
He, I think he's a good all around actor, but he's just one of those people that, like you said earlier, you either love or you hate, and those that hate
Yeah.
love to hate.
No, I like Affleck. I mean, it's partly through being introduced via the Kevin Smith, but yeah, like Affleck, Damon, and Lee, they're like, yeah, they're my boy. I've watched them grow onto the superstardom that they have from being in some random sort of indie movie, dick and fart jokes, and I've watched them go to become what they are, and that I will watch anything and everything that those kids do, for better or worse. I watched uh, the sneakers movie,
Air.
the Air movie, and
That should have won some awards.
and
That
I
was
have
very well done.
it's so I have no interest. I'm from the UK. Basketball's not a thing here, right? Michael Jordan, we know who he is, but it's not quite, it doesn't translate. It filters through, but it's not quite the same, you know?
Yeah.
And the whole, Air Jordans and having to have a pair, it being that must have item, it, it kind of was, but they were so fucking expensive over here. Uh, very few of us had a chance. So it wasn't really like, certainly like among my sort of high school circle of friends, it wasn't really a thing. But nonetheless, it's a Ben Affleck and Matt Damon movie. And it's the kids, they've written it, they're producing it. I'm going to watch it. And I watch it, and I'm watching it almost like documentary style. I'm learning this story, and it's one hell of a story. A story that I was blissfully unaware of, and it made me go like read more, do a bit more of a deep dive on the real story after watching this movie, which is what a movie like that is intended for, I imagine. I loved it. Really was enthralled from start to finish for a movie on a subject I have little or no interest in. I'm just here for my boys. Brilliant.
Anytime they're together, like the new Dunkin' Donuts commercials over here with him being dunking, and then this one him shitting on Matt, and at the end like we should have paid for Matt, and
Yeah,
I love that they're together, and I love honestly that character that he plays in there is actually created from the Askew universe. That's the
yeah,
same character that Ben has in Clerks 3, which goes back to the View Askew boards and some of the stuff. I mean, that's all edged in history that not everyone knows, but I love that. I love that. Like I said, tying it back into the Kevin's world, I love that everything ties back. There's a sense of family there, and they always want you to remember, hey, this is where we come from,
yeah,
this is where it is, and pay honor to that. They're not throwing away all this stuff. They're honoring it and bringing it back into the modern
yeah.
world, into the current limelight.
So go. I've got one more. I swear to God, one more question, and I'll let you go.
Oh,
Um,
you're good, man.
but feel free. If it takes an hour to answer it, then it takes an hour to answer it. But
Oh God.
is there is there a favorite actor, actress? That's the thing. Do we still say actress, or are they all just actors now? Is that a thing? Because I I don't want
I
to
think it's
offend
supposed
anyone.
to be. I think it's supposed to be actor, but I still use actors just because
Yeah, well, yeah, me
I'm
too.
45. It's what I grew up
Yeah,
with. It's
yeah.
no
When
offense
I
meant either way if any is taken, but that's the vernacular I'm used to.
Yeah, when I do the birthday posts on the thing, I will still use actress. If anything, I'm going to call it. I do it because I'm a feminist, right? Because if it has in fact changed to actor in the name of equality, I'm going to say, oh, so you had two choices and you went with the masculine version. Shocker, right?
Good
Because
point.
like you're okay with Rosario Dawson having to be an actor, but you don't want to call Ben Affleck an actress, right? You've got a problem with that. Are we still living in a world like that? Fuck you, all right? So I'm going to keep them separate. Even though they both do the same job, so they should both be up for the same award. There's nothing derogatory about being the best actress or best actor. They're doing the same job. So, yes, I get it that they should be they're in the same box. They
Yeah.
should be up for the same award. I get that. They should certainly be paid the same and all of that shit. But anyway, yeah. So, is there a favorite actor or actress of yours that hasn't been in the Askew universe that you'd like to see pop,
Ooh.
pop up? Whether for a cameo or for a bit of a meteor role.
Uh, well, they teased in when they were first talking about Mallrats 2, Twilight of the Mallrats, bringing in Bruce Campbell to fill in the Stan Lee type role. And there
Yeah.
was a bunch of tweets back and forth. I would love to see that. I would love to see that brought in. Another
Seems
one
like
I
a good
think
fit.
actually was an actual one was a miss, and I always mispronounce her last name, Kelly Coco, the
All
one that
right.
played
Yeah.
Penny in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
They actually set that up in Big Bang Theory. In the episode Kevin was on Will Wheaton's podcast, he called and talked to her and offered her a role in his film Clerks 3, and then she didn't show up. I want to see that somehow paid into fruition. It was set up, it's there. All of us that watch any of that stuff would immediately be like, because it is. I mean, it's a huge part of that world. I love when it becomes just a larger. This universe becomes larger by those audiences. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, that immediately made everything Kevin did pulled into that world. Just like the whole last real Stan Lee cameo of him reading the Mallrats
Yes.
script. You know, tying it
Love
all in
that so
together.
much.
Anything they could do like that, one, it sets the time, but it really, those of us who have been fans of all these things, it brings all of our worlds together. And I love that, the world clashing. I wouldn't mind seeing somehow Adam Sandler being in some of the stuff. I mean, you've had Chris Rock involved, and Chris Rock's part of the
Yeah.
fan base. Or even more meta, bring in Kevin James. That's been actually said that was a miss on, I believe it was Reboot, when they pulled back and you saw the cock knocker fish through. If the thought was after the fact they could have had you see Kevin James's face, and that would have been awesome. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the kind of things I would love to see, just because it plays fruition for years of jokes that and stuff that have never happened. That we finally see it happen. So
Yeah. You know what? That's brilliant. Some brilliant choices. Campbell seems like a good fit, doesn't he? Seems like it'd be a smooth transition.
oh yeah,
Um,
Ash in this world. I mean, especially after the series they had Ash versus Evil
yeah,
Dead. You know, his comedic chops are still on. He's got that sort of tone to him. I think he could very easily fit into our world,
yeah,
even being especially playing himself. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I would like your choices are much better than mine. Mine are just selfish. You've connected the whole dots together and shit, which is like really impressive as a several $1,000 worth of merch collector should do. You know, if only to be able to show this back to your wife to continually justify it. Look, actually, I know what I'm talking about. But because my choices are just selfish because they're my favorites, and just putting two of my favorite things together would just make me very happy. That I would like to see David Duchovny or Gillian Anderson, or preferably both.
I,
uh,
I
because
could see that.
because I'm a huge, huge fanboy for Duchovny. Possibly next up, yeah, after Kevin, it's probably David Duchovny. I think the guy could do no wrong for me as a writer, as a singer, as a recording artist, as an actor, as a director, as a producer, as a novelist. Um, I just find that I have liked his shit constantly, all the time. His new podcast is right up there now as one of my favorites. He's so ridiculously open and generous with it, and so smart, and he's so uh, much like probably what endears us to Kevin. He's very understated, very modest, very like he doesn't realize that he is David Duchovny. You know, like he tells the story where people say you should do a podcast. Well, everybody does a podcast. Look, even this guy, you know, like you should get in on that. And he's like, I haven't got anything to say. Yes, you fucking have. You're David Duchovny. You know, if you haven't, none of us have. You've lived a life. You've met some people. You've done some shit. You've starred in some, iconic roles. You know, you've got to have some opinions on show business or anything else, and how to cope and how to keep going in the somewhat twilight, for want of a better phrase, of your career. And if you haven't seen Bucky fucking Dent or Reverse the Curse, as you'll more likely find it because it sells easier. It's based on his book Bucky fucking Dent. Depending on the territory, it's not allowed to be called that as a movie, and it's called Reverse the Curse. It has Stephanie Beatriz in as well, and Duchovny, and it's so good. I think you would really, as a Kevin Smith fan, as a Jersey Girl fan, as a Clerks 3 fan, I think you will love the heart and soul, and it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll change your life. I swear, it is one of those. It's very, very funny, and then it goes very, very sort of dark, serious. There's death involved, and it's very, very sweet. All of that, all right in just 90 minutes of just brilliant. I loved it. It was awfully close to being my film of the year, and it's just one of those little things that stuck out there with no fanfare, and very few people care. But Reverse the Curse, yeah, if you can find it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but if you can find it.
How long ago did it come out?
It was either last year or the year before, depending on, again, territory dependent. Had a very, very limited theatrical run, and then I think it was streaming somewhere for a little while, then it was off, and then it was either like a digital release. Now, I'm pretty sure someone's picked it up. One of the streamers will have picked it up, or not to condone this, but if you Google for these things deep enough, you could probably find it somewhere if you're so much inclined. I like to justify some of my online viewing habits by, if I like the fucking thing, I will go buy it. I might want to try before I buy for free some things, but I will buy the fucking thing afterwards, because physical media, kids, keep a hold of it. Get it. All this digital stuff, they can take it away from you. You think you own it, but read the small print. A lot of it, kids, you're actually renting.
Anyone who would
they can take it away,
and
they can take it away from you one day, should they choose so.
Anyone who bought digital films off Redbox here, when Redbox went under, lost all of their digital collection.
Yeah, there you go.
Physical is the only way to truly own it. Plus, if you are a collector, you can have those signed by your favorite actors when you see them.
Exactly.
Or you can loan it to a friend.
On that note, kids, listen, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to thank you very much for your time. I have some chores to do that I'm overrunning for. So thank you very much for your time. It's been a blast. I know, as they say, time is the most precious commodity, and it's the one we're all just spending without a second thought. So I do appreciate you being here. It's been super fun to chat. I always, the problem with these things, I've been doing this for just over a year now. I had my year anniversary at the end of January. My main problem was ending them. Sometimes just because I'm having so much fun and I just want to keep going. Sometimes it just kind of peters out, You're kind of running out of things to say. Maybe you can tell the guest kind of wants to go, but they're too polite to say.
Yeah.
They're hoping for the dog to start kicking off, or someone to start like the doorbell ringing off the hook or something. But I've solved that problem. I don't end these anymore at all. Anyway, you do. I've come up with a catchphrase that I get every guest to say as we sign off. So I just need you to look into that camera for me one last time before we go. And you can do this however you like. You could do this comedically. You could do this erotically. You could do this. I'm giving you carte blanche as an actor. You could go wherever you like. If you have a celebrity impersonation, now would be the time to hit me with it.
Oh,
if you could just say, If you could just say for me, till next time, keep it foxy, and I'll let you go.
All right, then. Till next time, keep it foxy.
Thank you very much indeed. So, until Wolverine is seen driving the Batmobile, I'll bid you a fond farewell.